Today we're going to build this picture frame. It's from one of the choices that we've talked about, one of the levels. So we're going to build this. I'm not going to worry about the picture inside and everything. First thing you want to do is when you look at this, you want to look at how you think it's made. Now, obviously we don't have a lot of reference. It does look like it has plates or something on here. I'm going to put them as plates because it looks like they were some kind of plates, even though these may not be the plates themselves anymore. I'm going to make them kind of brass. We'll get to that when we get the textures done. Then it's got this flowery stuff around the edge, and it's got this rope border. And then it's got this beaded kind of flower stuff. Now, I'm not going to try and make it perfect for the time, for expedience purposes, but I'm going to try and get at least this detail in here and some kind of detail on the inside. And then we'll do some texturing inside of substance to get to where we need to be. It's actually maybe not a picture frame. See how small it is. I was thinking maybe it's a brooch, but anyway, or some kind of picture. But no, I think it's a frame, I guess. So first thing you want to do is when you see this, you want to figure out how this looks, how this frame is actually built. Since it's a circle, even if it was a square, it's probably made out of some wood, and it's got a lot of lacquer and stuff on it. And again, some of this detail I would come back to and work on if I was to make this exact duplicate. But for our purposes, I'm just going to try and get the general idea, and then if you want to come back in and do some of this bead work differently, you're more than welcome to. So this actually looks like it goes in, has a hump that comes towards us, then it scoops down, and then it has a little bit of a hump before it goes into the actual frame. That's a general shape that most, let me pull up the new picture here, that I've seen before in picture frames. Or if you want to think of a better way to look at it, you can think of it as crown molding, kind of has that same look. So if you're doing one or the other, they're usually the same, but it's like it comes out, it goes up over to be the bump, and then it has a little lip right there, and it comes back down, and then it has a little bit of an off, and then it goes into the frame. And if we looked at it all the way back, it would be something like that. It's probably a pretty thick frame, but anyway, so it looks like a guy yelling. But anyway, so we're going to build that, and we're going to do it in a few things. We're going to build it in Max, base it out in Max, bring it into ZBrush, do some extra work inside of there, down-res it quite a bit in ZBrush, and then bring it back into Max with a quick unwrap on it, and then we'll bring it into Painter. So there's a few steps, and what I'll do is I'll break after every when I jump to a different program. So we'll just do a break, and then I'll post them all separately. Okay, so except for Photoshop. Photoshop I have to jump in real quick in the beginning here. So if we come back and we look at, you know what? I realized one thing real quick. This recording program does not like it to be my full resolution, so I'll turn off all these, jump back out. So now you can see the whole screen here. Okay, so what I want to do, what I had to go do, is coming back to the image, is I wanted to go find something that's close to this. I'm not going to try and mirror this exactly unless I sculpted it inside of ZBrush, and that would be a whole different thing. But I'm trying to do this expediently. So we're going to use masking, or we're going to build a black and white mask to get our basic flower shapes. And I could have muddled it up more and stuff like that. And the final piece will look something more like this. Is the one that I came up with. So I mean, it's close. It's not perfect, and I could tweak and tweak and tweak, and that's what we do when we're working. But for now, it works good. Okay, so it looks like it's got a copper overtone. It's got some obviously some heavy lacquer on it and stuff. But I did see a little metal feel to it, and it could have just been the heavy lacquer, so I threw a little metal on it. Okay. So going back to the shape, so that shape is this, right? So what I do, and for something this simple as a round frame, it makes it easy too, is I go into Max and I build this out. And I just built out a spline, you know, we just went to edit spline, our line, did a, blocked it out, however I wanted. And rather than have you guys tweak it, or have you guys watch me click out these pieces, I will talk to you a little bit about this. If I go into the vertex mode, you can see that there's a few of them that are, you know, and I'm not looking for perfection at this point because, again, we're not trying to do this for anything else but move pieces, so we got to be able to get to these faster. And you'll see there's a handlebar there, there's a handlebar there, there's a handlebar there, handlebar there, handlebar there. This one just to lock it down for up straight back. And I'm going to eventually delete the backside. But for me to get this frame right, it was just the easiest way to do it. And sometimes what I like to do anyway is I like to build it from the top, everything in this case. So I built it straight down, and then I built a generic, and actually I think this is way too big to tell you the truth, but just for the sakes of me messing around with it, we'll leave it the size it is. And the size of this and the size of this need to kind of match. Like, this is how thick the frame is going to be. So all I have to do is go to editable, and then, I'm sorry, go to extended primitives, and go to grab, I'm not extended primitives, I'm sorry, compound objects, and grab loft, and click on get shape, and click on this one. And what it did is it flipped it over. But if I turn this off here, oops, wrong one. If I turn it off, you can see that I kind of got that form that's built out. And it's just based on this. Now, normally, we aren't going to use this for a game because I did turn up the amount of pieces it uses. So you can see up here, I've got 20 steps. So if we went back to here, that's quite a bit. And then it starts getting really heavy inside of here. This is fine though. For what we're doing, this is fine because we're going to bring this into ZBrush and it's going to shrink it down for super fast and super easy with the normal setup, so it'll work even better. Okay, so you know what we might do is just rotate this from the top. Let's just go to the front actually. I think I did it backwards here. Make sure I have my snap on for rotation and just rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. So the next thing that I need to set up or prepare for the ZBrush, I mean, that's pretty much it for the Max part right now. I'm going to do this part, and only because I didn't want to fight with it in ZBrush. I know you can do this in ZBrush, but it was just a really fast turnaround for me in Max because I'm more comfortable in it. But you can absolutely do this kind of stuff in ZBrush. It would just take more work, and somebody who's more comfortable with the box modeling or the tools inside of there. Anyway. So the next thing I needed to do was not do that. Is I went online, I looked at this, I got a close-up of it, and then I went online and I found something that was close to that feel. I think that if I just search Rose, it probably should come up. Rose design on a frame. I think it was just ended up being Rose design. And I went to images, I went to tools, I went to style, large, and somewhere in here or something like this. This is where you start. I mean, this is not the same one because the one I had to be different. Let me see if I did a different one here. Rose. Frame. Yeah, I think that's what I ended up getting, this stuff, and then man, it was like right at the top too. I just hit it right out. Anyway, I found it in here. You can use any of these. The deal was that when I got it, it was originally like this, right? So it was just a black and white picture, and it was on a white background actually, but I deleted out the background. And then I had to tweak with it, and I had to make it, you know, stand out a little bit more. And then what I ended up doing is, if we look at this group here, I wanted it to feel like it was, I'm going to use this as a brush. So I wanted to make sure it felt like it was getting brighter as it came towards me, because that's how, you know, brushes work, or how normals work. And I tried it with a normal and I didn't like the way it looked. But if I turn this on and turn these all off, you'll see that I wanted these to stay. When I started doing the original, this right here, I just fade it out, and then I do a selection around it like this, and then I come up here and say select, and I'd say contract, and I'd say 2, and it contracted it by 2, and then I deleted the outside, or I copied it, and then I put this one up, so this one's a little bit bigger. And then I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again, and I did it again, until I got to something that I liked and it felt like it had some. And then I felt like these flowers were disappearing too much, so I put them back in. And I turned this down to 50. I just played around with it till I got it. A couple of things I didn't like. I didn't like how it did that, this faded edge. So I ended up doing soft fill on it and things like that, and a filter or blur on it and stuff. And then, you know, sometimes when we work in ZBrush, you want to work in, you want to make sure that your background is parallel with what you're painting for the alpha. But in this case, since we're using it as an alpha and not as just a bump add-on, we wanted to make it black. So because black in ZBrush is automatically perfect, is automatically transparent. So I played around with it a little bit more, and I finally got something I liked, and I think it's, yeah, okay. And I think it was this, something close to that, I think. Yeah, not that one, that was ugly. But I think it was something close to that, and what I ended up doing is rotating it around and saving it, to get a feel for how it looks. Now, the worry I had was this was not going to match the frame. So I brought it back into Max. And no, actually, I'm bringing it in Max. I just opened up Max and I did a render of the frame in Max. And let me see if I still have that open. Yeah. So I did a render of the frame like this. And then I took that image that I had and I brought it in here and started cutting it up to make it fit the frame better. So I had ended up with something like this, which was perfect. It was fine. Because then I deleted all the gray, so I just deselect, select W for the gray, grabbed all the, grab red layer, deselect, get out of Q, and just deleted that. I may want a little less tolerance. Let's do 32. Deselect and do this again. Delete it. Deselect. So I had something close to that. I mean, I think I ended up tweaking it a little bit more. Anyway, so then I duped it over to one side, and looks like I deleted that one too. And then after I duped it, I cut out the middle part, and then I had 2 of them. And then I took that. I thought it was too dark, so I doubled it up, scaled it to the right size, and this way, when I painted inside of ZBrush with this tool, hopefully, and pretty good, but not perfect, because I didn't do the sides. I should have probably done the sides too. I think I did. That was the bottom, yeah. I could use this brush when it's grayed out or blacked out to be exactly what I wanted, and it ended up being like this. So I just have this brush. This was the alphas. You want to call it a brush. It's an alpha that I used inside of ZBrush to get it. So and this I just want to give you a rough quick on the alpha, and this was key. I didn't have this perfectly made. It was just really quick, slapping stuff together, trying to get it to fit. And just think about the resources. If I know it has to fit this form in orthographic, then I can just render it and start shaping it here. And you can see when you look at how I cut it. I delete this. Yeah, when you look at how I cut this up, it was just cut and paste. I even left pieces out because I knew I'd get rid of the gray. So, you know, slap the stuff together as best you can. And if you have time, spend as much time as you possibly can on this. I just knew I wasn't going to get this to read, even if I tried to, unless I painted it. So I found something simple and then ended up with something closer to this. So I had something just to paste on there, so I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing it. All right, so I go back to Max. I've got my frame set up, and I actually think Yeah, I know I scaled it out, and this may not end up matching, but I know I scaled it out a little bit. We'll just say that's fine. And then I file, I'll just use the one I exported. File, export, selected. Okay, so I say file, export, selected. I have a shortcut for it. And then in this case, since I was going to ZBrush, I like to keep ZBrush happy and just import it as a frame test. And that was the one I exported out of here. And then we're done in Max. So I'll see you in a second when we go to ZBrush.